Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Tina and Michael back here on the couch. We moved the couch around. Different setup today.
Gotta change things up.
Yeah, better lighting.
Yeah.
So we're here today. And if for those of you who don't know us, Better Yourself 365, husband and wife combo. And we tackle two main areas in our business, which is how to better your health and better your relationships. And all of our products are around those two main themes.
Mm-hmm.
So today, we're talking for the next 10, 15 minutes or so
Yeah.
about, we're focused on better your health today. And more specifically, how we keep going with our health goals and not get stuck when life happens and something unpredictable puts us off track. So how do we get back on and not go off track for too long? And we're talking about things that are sometimes out of our control. We get sick or we get injured or, something, the busy life, things that really can pretty much take us away from our goal. And we hear a lot of people when we work with clients that face those kinds of things. There's a lot of discouragement that can happen, a lot of beating ourselves up. And it takes longer when we get to that place. It takes longer to get back on track. So what we're going to talk about today is how to prevent it from getting to those places where we beat ourselves up and stay there too long.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
And you have an example that happened to you and that I witnessed and we worked through together.
Yeah. So usually when we do these, we kind of alternate. Sometimes Tina talks about an example and sometimes I do. We always talk about a personal example. So mine is about an injury. I sustained a concussion in 2015, which was quite a few years ago. But I actually didn't have it diagnosed until quite a bit later because I didn't remember hitting my head, which happens to people with concussions. Anyhow, gradually I learned it was concussion. And then I had to really kind of adjust all of my health goals, and I really had to start taking care of myself differently because it was really in my way.
And it was ongoing.
Yeah.
Because a concussion can be cured pretty quickly, but then yours had gone into
post-concussion syndrome, right? So
which can be years, which is what happened to you.
Yeah, it was years in the making, and it took quite a long time to get to a place where I was feeling better and where I could kind of feel more like my old self and accomplish some of my older kind of health goals that I used to do, like running, for example. I'm an avid runner, and that wasn't happening. So that is a great example for me of something that got in my way and was a giant setback for me. And I really had to sit down, and I know you helped me a lot, to devise some kind of a plan of how I'm going to get better. Yeah. And it involved, doctors and lots of appointments with other, different types of healthcare support. So, but one of the big things, and we were just talking about this, is that, when we are in the middle of this setback, it's so easy to not want to be there. You don't want to be there. I want to go back to the way it was.
I remember you saying things like, I can't stand the fact that I can't run right now. I feel like my body wants to, and I don't, but I'm like, not my body wants to, but my head wants to, and it's still part of my habit, and I can't. Yeah, you struggled a lot with this.
Yeah, that was hard to accept. So that's really one of the takeaways for me that, I wanted to share today is about that. Just accepting where you are, whether it's, you're really busy and you got out of an exercise routine, or you're not eating properly, or you have a major injury like I did. There is a point where we have to just accept where we are in this moment.
Yeah.
And we have to let go of the way that we wanted it to be and the way that we wished it would be, because it's really difficult to make progress and to move forward and take steps towards getting better when you're stuck in who you used to be and you want to be that person again and not accepting where you are right now.
Yeah, and I think you also have to not start to expect an outcome and when that outcome is going to happen, right? Because you didn't know. That was a big part of what was hard for you.
That's
Concussion is you didn't really know when it was going to heal fully and when you'd be able to come back to fully your activities, physical activities, and all that before.
Yeah, and that's not a typical kind of setback just because with a concussion, the harder you try, the worse you feel. But there's a lot of other times where effort can really get you to that goal. But this was an example of effort. Actually, too much effort can block you from your goals. And that's another part of what I took away is this too much effort, like all or none thinking. A lot of our clients get caught in this way of thinking where it's like I have this goal set. Let's say it's I want to eat better, and then I'm eating better, and then I get busy, and I don't eat well for 2 days, and then it's like screw it. If I'm not eating well now, I'm just going to throw it all out. What's the point? So these gradual baby steps that got me out of my concussion is one of the things that I think is very helpful for many people is to take a look at the small, gradual, consistent steps that actually add up to getting you where you want to go, rather than I'm all in, and then when setback comes, you're all out. But there is something to say about gradually entering in, something you can handle. Once you get that down, you step it up a little bit more, see how you do. Once you get that down, you step it up. Then it becomes a habit and it becomes easier to do. But this all or none thinking, it got me into trouble because I would push myself too hard. I would try running when I wasn't ready, and then I would face another setback.
Right.
And that can be frustrating.
Yeah, and for those who are just joining here, we are talking about how to come back from something that's challenging, that create an obstacle for us in our journey to health. And for you, when you're talking about this, like I remember also that you had to change your mindset. Like you were still working towards your health, but it didn't look exactly how you used to focus on your health before, because you were all about activity. And you would eat pretty well, but it wasn't like something you were super focused on. But I noticed that through your journey of recovering from your concussion, that because you couldn't exercise the same way, you'd walk more, you'd do things that were gradual, like not as physically.
I started lifting weights because that was easier on my
head. You changed it, but you also changed your food. You start to focus more on your food. I remember you eating for brain health.
Yeah, that's right.
And all of a sudden you were eating a lot more healthy fats, and you were very conscious of that. So that was still a way you were focusing on your health, but it didn't look at all like you used to before your concussion.
Yeah, and I had to learn a lot of different ways to take care of myself. But interestingly, I guess some of the messages we want to get across today is not just accepting where you are, but catching that negative self-talk that is kind of beating you up for not being who you used to be. So whether it's that person last week who was eating well and what's wrong with me, why can't I eat well? But also for me, it was like my identity is wrapped around running. And now I'm not a runner. And then I was getting frustrated with myself. Come on, you got to get this going. You need to start running again. You can't go without that. Right. So I would start to get frustrated with myself. So that's the second piece, which is we've talked about in these before, which is self-compassion, inserting self-compassion, treating yourself with tenderness and understanding and looking at yourself as doing your best rather than you need to reach this goal, and if you don't reach this goal, then there's something wrong. So being easier on ourselves, I think, can be very helpful for us, which won't get into this all or none thinking. Because when you're like, you have to do it this way or it's not going to work, it's like, well, actually, there are reasons why you have some limits right now. Why don't you honor those without getting frustrated with yourself?
Yeah, and if it was your best friend going through that same thing, that's what you tell him or her,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
You'd say, okay, well, you know what? This is a tough situation, and nobody really knows how to handle this kind of stuff when you're faced with it. So, be easy on yourself and do what you can. And, right? This is hard stuff.
Yeah, this is hard stuff, and I think that's how people can really accept where they are, when they can be easier on themselves and just accept that this happened. Okay, there it is. I messed up, or I got injured, or whatever. That's where it is. I'm still a good person. So now what do I want to do? And for me, the last piece is building more gradual goals in that you know you can stick with and keep until they become solid, and then you add a little bit more. That people tend to think that you have to be all in for this health thing to work. But that's not true because there are times where you're just going to have to pull back and do less. But the important thing is that you keep doing something
Right.
with your health. You keep
Yeah.
feeling like you're moving forward, like you're making progress. And there's a lot to say about feeling like you're making progress in your life. And around health, it's a big piece. We all know what it feels like to feel like you're not making progress, but you need to feel like you're at least making some steps towards getting to where you want to be.
Yes, and that's what keeps you out of that all or none way of approaching health.
That's right.
So to recap what I'm hearing you say there, acceptance is crucial because you can't do any of the rest if you don't accept the situation you're in right now.
That's right.
And the limits that you have facing that situation.
Without judgment.
Without judgment. Yeah. And having some self-compassion for yourself, because that's when the judgment comes in, and you beat yourself up. And so having some self-compassion about your situation, and then a lot of it is not in our control, and we have to do what we can. And then focusing on, third thing would be focusing on progress instead of
perfection or how I used to be.
My ideal.
Yeah. So just focusing on taking those steps forward. And people would be surprised how much you can accomplish in 1 month of consistent effort, doing something little by little, and it starts to get easier, and then you add on more. They call it laddering. It's like once you get here, then you add on a little more. Once you're there, you add on a little more. And that you can keep. And it reminds me a lot about those of us that struggle with food. You know, diet, off, on the diet, off the diet, rather than keeping something that you know, this is something that I know that's good for me and I'll keep there, then I'll add a little bit something over time.
One consistent thing that you know you can keep into your habit.
That's right.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so now what we invite you to do, and if you haven't listened from the beginning, go back and watch it so you can comment on what part of this you resonate with, that you know that maybe you've used some of this in your own challenges with your health goal. Or maybe there's some of this stuff that you're resonating with now and saying, yeah, okay, that's something I need to kind of work on. The stuff that we're talking about today is not stuff that happens like this, right? It's constantly something you have to be aware of. Oh, okay, today I'm not accepting my limit as much. Okay, compassion for yourself. It's hard, and some days will be harder. What can I do now that I can manage, right? And even if it's that day, you just need to rest and accept that, okay, today I can't exercise if that's what it is that your goal is. But what can I do to focus on my health? I can get my rest today, or I can make sure that I eat well. And that's all going towards your goal in the end.
Yeah, because rest is progress too.
Yeah.
But in our society, we see busy as progress, but rest is something you need to fill in with busy. So rest has lost its power, but we need more rest in our world. I know as parents and as busy people with 2 jobs each, rest is integral for our life. Not just sleep, but rest.
Yes, that's so true. So now we flip it to you. What you want, think about what we talked about. Go back and watch it if you haven't seen the beginning. And see what you have to do in your life. When are those times maybe for you? Because we all get caught in that. Where maybe you go to that place of beating yourself up or in that all or none thinking. And see what kind of acceptance you can create for yourself in those moments. Acceptance and self-compassion. And see what difference that makes for you. I think you'll be surprised if you start practicing that, and maybe some of you are already practicing that, and you can comment on that. But that's something, it's a skill that everybody needs to learn, and I really do believe, and I say this to my clients all the time, once you learn how to have self-compassion for yourself, your life will change. Things will get easier to achieve your goals.
I like how you put it. It is a skill. You're not either born with it or you're not.
No.
It's something you have to learn. Maybe you learned it young. If you didn't, you can learn it now.
Absolutely. Yes, and Kristen Neff is a really good teacher for that if somebody wants to look at that. She has lots of mindfulness exercise on how to be compassionate and treat yourself as your best friend. And to me, that's made a world of difference in my life. So we invite you to do the same.
You can do it.
Yes, everybody can learn this. And so check out our website if you don't know about us, and also our newsletter. We do more of this Better Your Health stuff. We write articles and stuff in our newsletter. So if you haven't joined our newsletter, you can do that from our website. I have the link in the description there, and on the first page you can subscribe to our newsletter. So you have an article going out about Better Your Health next week, eh? What's the topic?
Right. Oh, it's on sleep, how to get some better sleep.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that'll be helpful if people want to read that.
All right. Well, this is all for this week, folks. And yeah, so we will see you next week, same time, same place. And can't remember what topic will be next week, but you'll have to come and see.
Yeah. Live healthy, love fully, folks.
Okay. Have a good week.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.